Warning, this podcast contains explicit sexual language and should only be listened to at work if you're looking for an excuse to connect with your HR representative. Additionally, all mentions of the word women include cis and trans women. For my friends who are genderqueer, gender fluid, figuring it out, anything in between, and feel like this conversation is also important for you, you are welcome here.
Will you open up with me? These pages, they can feed your innermost desires. Do you feel inspired? Are you getting what you need? Are you coming curiously? A secret safe with me. And here you can simply be yourself. Sweet romance. Come on in, come on in, come on.
Welcome back to part 2 of my conversation with Terreece and Clarke and Devyn Sinclair. If you did not listen to last week's episode, pause, go back. You might be very confused if you keep going forward. Okay, you did that? Welcome. I am so excited to finish up this conversation.
Being indie is a huge privilege, and it's really fun, but it's also really fucking hard.
Yeah.
I think something that a lot of people in this space or readers or people who are just consuming books don't realize is that in indie, every decision is yours. And there are far more decisions than you think of. What does your cover look like? Who are you going to contract with? What do you own? You have to go, maybe if you're not buying a cover that's pre-made, you have to go back and forth on it with if you're working with a printer, what size, what paper, what font, what layout are you going to lay it out? Are you going to have someone else?
Do you create a company? Do you create an LLC?
Yeah.
Are you able
an
to
S corp,
yeah. Do you advertise and where?
Yeah. Yes. What are you going to do with your advertising dollars? Do you create a brand? Do you create a logo? Do you have to trademark?
Right.
Do you have to do all of these things?
Are you to do events? Because events are expensive and time consuming, and then understanding what your goal of said event is. Because if it's to make money and you don't, then what? If it's for advertising purposes and kind of market research and that sort of thing, then that's different. You know what I mean? And if you're not going to make, is it break even, or where are you willing to go down, and then counting that against your marketing or in advertising dollars? I mean, it is a business. It is a system. And some of the shit's just not that fun. Like the admin.
No.
Terreece, you said this earlier, though, you have to define your own success.
Absolutely.
And it's true, because the goalposts will continue to move on you.
Yes.
And you have to be realistic about what you want and what you want to do. For example, I have audio processing issues. I cannot proof my own audiobooks. I have chosen not to do my own audiobooks. A publisher handles my audiobooks, because I sat down and thought about it, because I was kind of in a contract scuffle with them about like right of first refusal.
Yeah.
And I was like, do I actually want to produce my own audiobooks? And when I actually sat down and thought about it, the answer was no. And so I was like, you have to that's the other part of it, is like define your own success, but also recognize that your wants and needs for your business are not the same as every other indie author. Yeah. There are plenty of indie authors who love doing their own audio and make a shit ton of money doing it. And I'm not one of those people.
And you'll exhaust yourself and end up not writing what you need to be writing, which is your main thing, chasing the success of everyone else. And it all looks good. It's like you walk into, a candy store and everything is bright and colorful and beautiful. And if you try to eat some of everything, you will end up sick, you know what I mean? And exhausted, and you don't get any pleasure from it. So you have to figure out what's your favorite candy, what works for you. What's like, oh, this is cool, but you know what I mean? I don't need to have that. And then like they said, comparison is the thief of joy. And I think with authors, especially, I mean, with everyone, but with authors, you especially see it because we spend a lot of time in our own heads. And there are a billion people that we can compare ourselves to. And why don't I have followers like this one? And I want that, I want to get that opportunity and this, that, and the other. And one of the things I have like right in front of me on my window on a Post-it is, it says, you are your own competition. Because and people say that all the time, but I really, really believe that, because there is no one, not James Patterson, no one in this world that can write enough books to satisfy specifically romance fantasy folks. They devour these books to the point where there is no way you can produce enough to corner the market. There is enough market share for everyone. And so
I remember somebody said, like, it's like a pie. It's like a pie where, like, you think that you have a piece of a pie, but we know the ingredients. We can just make more fucking pie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was going to tag off of your comparison thing to say that, like, romance is such a wonderful and welcoming genre, but the reality of being an indie author in that space is understanding that, unfortunately, not everybody is on your side.
Oh no.
And not everybody has your best interest at heart, and that's a sad thing. But like, you also have to understand that this is the real life, and when not everybody's perfect and happy.
And when you jump in, you are so excited. Like, I got this book. I'm going to do this. Oh my gosh, I'm on TikTok now. I'm going to make friends with all of these authors. And I'm like the Lego movie. We're all going to sit on the double-decker couch and be buddies, right? This is what's going to happen, right? It's going to be great. And I got my little nose smacked a couple of times. I was like, oh, okay, hold on. Wait a minute. These are regular people still. Damn it. It is whatever we've all had life experience. So whatever you've experienced of humanity in any of your jobs, in your family, those people still exist in the romance world. It is not HEA in real life. And so I was like, oh, okay. I had to blink a couple of times. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
I will proceed a little more cautiously, a little less open. If you're for me and you're, we vibe like me and Devyn, then we'll vibe. Other than that, I'm not, chasing or trying to engage. It's weird because, again, it's not really a competition. It's not, especially if we're writing different subgenres. Like, our people are not going to cross match, but it is what it is, and people are who they are, and you get your core group of author friends.
It's an interesting time to be in this industry, if not only authoring, just digital industries in general, because we're coming up at the same time as we're learning how to navigate parasocial relationships, because those are new. Yes. And we're so much more accessible than traditional authors. Well, though they're more accessible now too, but like indie authors like have such a close relationship with their readership that it can be difficult to navigate that sometimes.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that surprised me at Smut Lovers, not surprised me, but it is constantly I'm being reminded, and it's probably because at Smut Lovers, as opposed to other conferences where they're not going to be talking about the explicit nature of what is being written as much as they do, is that sometimes people forget that authors are humans, and number one, like, they don't know you. Like, I feel so lucky to know you two as humans, and I can message you. Like, I feel I think the weird millennial where I'm like, I feel a very big boundary between someone I only watch online. Like, I can't interact with them, but also people who consume your work and have a feeling about your work and assume that they're allowed to have that same feeling about you. They're like, you wrote something that makes me feel warm and squiggly in my naughty bits. Maybe you make me feel warm and squiggly in my... I'm like, nope, no, sorry.
Thank you.
So sorry.
No, thank you.
And that's something that's very, I think, real in just a lot of parasocial, and especially because of social media where authors are showing their lives and people are showing their lives, people are assuming that like, oh, I know you, I know your life. And you're like, no, you don't. You know what I put out there. You know the romance that I read. Like, no one is going to, I mean, I don't know, Devyn, maybe you do live with a reverse harem of partners and you are just the queen of all of them. And that's beautiful. But that's beautiful. And I love
that for you. I have an experience with parasocial relationships more than most, because before, when I moved to Montana from New York, I worked for a fairly popular YouTuber. And I was a part of his daily vlogs and stuff like that. Like, there's still a video on his channel of me moving into my house, and we had to discuss what he was allowed to film and what he wasn't allowed to film, because there are people who would go to his house at midnight and drop things off at his door and knock and all that stuff. And when that situation, when he kind of cratered off the face of the earth, like, I had people coming to me because they felt possessive of my life, despite they only saw like seconds of it in these 10-minute daily vlogs. And so it made me incredibly aware, and it really fuels a lot of how I interact with my community and what boundaries I set, because I know how bad it can go fast, or how fast it can go badly.
That's one thing I learned from Devyn. So I've learned a lot. Like, we literally just met in April, and I'm like, Instagram, like, hey girl, so listen. Because she put me on, like, literally within the first hour, she had like 2 great tips of advice for me. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna hold on to you. Okay. Yeah. And to this day that I use. But that was something that we talked about as Smut Lovers, because I went on the field trip, and she was like, I'm very particular about how I interact with my readers and why. And I was like, I hadn't thought of that, because someone else has said, how do you feel about, readers and interacting and that sort of thing? I'm like, it's fine, but I haven't had at that point anything negative yet. So I didn't have a boundary in which that had been crossed. And then, I think a lot of people's boundaries start at reviews, and reviews don't bother me because I come from a journalist background. So, you get kicked in the teeth before you even leave JCOM school, right? So by the time, I rolled around with my book, I was like, oh, 1 star, cool. Like, I have the ability now to, I look at it differently, because I look at reviews like, okay, well, is this something constructive? Is this something that I can actually use, versus, oh my God, I see the 1 star and I start to freak out. Or is it just, it's just not for you? And that's cool too, because not every book is for everybody. But again, coming from a journalist side, I mean, they kick our teeth in, on a regular basis. So that kind of thing doesn't bother me. So I'm like, oh, well, interacting with people in the public, again, that's, I've been trashed on social media before for an article, whatever. But it does get and feel a bit different, because at least with my news articles and even opinion pieces, there's still for me, the way I practice, journalistic requirements and rules and things that we have to go by. And so I'm always based in fact. So you may not like how I wrote something, but it's factual, right? I've got stats or quotes or whatever to back it up. But with creative writing, with fiction, this is just my world, right? This is just kind of what's in my head that I've thrown up on the keyboard. And so it's a bit more intimate feeling, I feel like. And so I think that also creates a different kind of bond with folks. And so it's definitely different. And there's been some like boundary crossing, but people have still kind of fairly been okay when I've never gotten any pushback when I say, okay, well, I don't, X, Y, and Z, or I don't share la, 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 or, people have just asked, could they, call me something other than my name? No. So, yeah. So it's different. It's different.
I think there's like
I now want to know what they want to call you.
later.
Just a nickname so that they could remember it, I think, better. And I actually used to shorten my name to make it more palatable for people. Until I got to college and realized my name is my fucking name. You'll figure it out or don't call me. So, so I mean, you know, just like kind of things like that. But it still just feels slightly more like regular interaction with people, but with like a little extra razzle dazzle. That's the best way to describe it.
I have to say, I think 98% of people who interact with authors are coming from a super genuine place. And even if there is a boundary that's crossed, it's not an intentional boundary crossing. Most of the time. And I'm lucky in that I have fans who are generally pretty good at knowing what's the limit. But the other factor is that, like, especially with the type of books that I write, because I do one of my kind of brand markers is having deeply emotional things happen to these characters and making you feel these things, is that, like you were saying, Jace, where they kind of like they superimpose the character onto you. You have to, or I have to be aware that when I write about really intense subjects, like the last book I put out was heavily about fat phobia and the experience of living in a big body. And you have to understand that you just created those characters, and those characters are a safe space for them. And therefore you are a safe space for them to tell you things that doesn't matter whether or not, like, you know, like, and I had to prepare with that, like, and be like, okay, I know that people are going to talk about their trauma to me after this book. And I have to, like, you have to know that going in. And I don't care, to be clear, I don't care about that. I love it. I love when readers share with me. I've had readers share incredibly beautiful and emotional things and how my books helped them. And I love that, because, like, if I know that I'm helping people, like, that just makes it so much better. But you have to be aware as an author of your own mental health, because at a certain point, when X number of people are reading your books, that kind of noise can be very chaotic. And so you just like kind of like have a plan in place. Like, obviously, like, I have a therapist, and like, if there's anything like that. So it's just, I could talk about publishing all day simply because it's so complex. There's so many facets and so many different disciplines. It's like a Venn diagram that's like more like a spirograph.
I'm like super scared now, because the question that I had, and maybe I'm going to be like, what is your dream thing? And maybe I'll have you both back for a different conversation. But the question I had next coming up was, what would you like to see change in the romance space? And I feel like this is, I just like clicked open a giant can of whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so what is like what was, if you could wave a magic wand, sprinkle fairy dust, whatever, and change one thing, what would it be?
Just giving people grace, honestly, like, especially authors, because and like this, I'm not going to name names, but like very recent last couple days events have been a little bit brutal in the author space for some in particular, and they didn't do anything wrong in this case. And that's hard, because, like you said, like, sometimes it's easy for us to become a product instead of a person, and to remember that we are human and that we do have feelings, and that, like, you got to remember that, like, there's only so fast I can do this. You know what I mean? I have repetitive stress injuries. I have to keep myself healthy if you still want these books, which means I can't write them as fast as I can. Like, I can write faster, but I shouldn't, because it keeps me healthy. And so, like, that kind of grace and knowledge, and remembering that, like, we love that you're obsessed with our books. We don't love that you're obsessed with them to the point of detriment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that grace is what I would say.
It's been a brutal couple days.
I would say algorithm equity.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that's a good one.
Because it is difficult. And this is not a comparison thing. It is difficult when, if things were equitable, then X. it is difficult when the book talk tables, and I'm going to throw Barnes and Noble out there because they deserve it, only show one side of book talk. Because to me, it's both business and intellectually lazy to not recognize, or not to, for me, it's ingrained. And I understand it's because of my lived experience in the body that I'm in. When I am in a room or we're doing something, I look around to see who's not here, whose voice is not here, who's not, who doesn't have a seat at this table. Let's to say that. So for large booksellers and even indie booksellers, because that's a whole other conversation on indie booksellers and indie authors. It's not peanut butter and jelly like I thought it would be. To go book talk table, and it is the same books, and they all represent a specific demographic. It's lazy because people will say, well, I just went to TikTok and put in romance books, and this is what came up. Okay, but if you put book talk Black, book talk Latina, book talk LGBTQIA, you would find, oh my God, same number of followers, same level of engagement among those particular followers. It's really simple. And for you not to even just take, first of all, you shouldn't have to do that. If you put it in, it should bring it all up. That's the first issue. But so that's the equity in the algorithm. But even for you not to recognize that, surely you do. So what is it that's preventing you from taking that next step?
Yeah. It sucks. It sucks that to be the kind of consumer of romance that I want to be, I have to take extra steps.
And not only,
and they're not
when you post about, I've seen white creators will say, listen, I read everything, but when I post about specific books, and if I use hashtag Black romance, my views go down. My video is not pushed. Just off of the hashtag. If I use, any kind of inclusive hashtag or wording, they actually they don't lose followers, but they lose views on that video. And then the next video for the next insert name here, it goes right back up like nothing.
It's one of the beautiful things about sucking at social media, like I do, like being really terrible at it, is that I maintain my principles, like, because my income doesn't come from social media. Like the fact that an indie book that I read a book by Golden Angel, if you know her.
Yes,
and
love her.
Yeah, love her. Very sweet. I read Chasing His Bunny, and like she is an indie author of color and weird, and I think she would say weird shit. She wrote a Hoo Cow book. Like, and that view got very little, but I'm still gonna put the hashtags on it because for me, that person who's searching Black romance author is going to find the video, and it's going to be the thing that they want and that they need. And the algorithm is bullshit.
Yes, it is.
It's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle because people like to see things that are familiar, and that familiar equals comfort. That's why there's an HEA in romance, right? That's why we read it. Yeah. So it's the same. It's the same dopamine trigger in the algorithm. Is like it's shitty because you flip past stuff that you might not be familiar with, and because of that, people then are less familiar with authors of color, and it just continues down that path, and it's like a devolving spiral.
Or they show up in February. Like, I am popular as fuck in February. Come January, there are so many inboxes like, hey, I want to review your book. And I'm like, For February, isn't it?
For February. Yeah, it's for February.
It's for February. And probably, honestly, 100% being like for real, just holding up the book. And then not a real review, just these are the books. These are the books. These are the books. And then that's it. Like you never, everything else is always an in-depth review and they're showing you the tabs and the highlights. And I had to get these 9 different versions of this book and they'll just, you know, put our little books up there. All right, yay. And then, which is fine because that's not, I feel like that's not my reader anyway. So I'm looking for people who are genuinely interested in the stories that I'm writing. So I don't chase influencer or anything like that anymore. I started off with that and it was just, I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Because depending on who throws your book up there, you get the wrong folks anyway. And your reviews hit the toilet because they can't identify. This is
as we peter off, as I'm reined in with the best of intentions. What are the things that you can tell us? And Sevi and I, in that and separately, are like, so this is going to be a 2-parter. This is going to be a 2-parter. So part 1. Part 1 next week, part 2 the first week of December. Magic.
Yay.
Magic. I don't even think there's a way. At first I was like, is there a way for us to cut this down to 1 episode and then like have an extended version be for the membership that launches next year? And I think the answer is no. Remix, right? So okay, so knowing that you have an extra week on there, I don't think this works for you, Devyn, but like, what are you working on next, or what just came out? Like, what do you want people to go and be like, yeah, this is that thing that I just did or I'm about to do?
Go first, Dev.
Well, there's stuff I can't talk about. Before you got on the call, Terreece, I was like, hey, so when's this coming out? Because that defines what I can talk about. So there's stuff I can't talk about. The most recent thing that I put out...
Up, like, what is it?
We'll talk later. No, my most recent book came out in August. It's called Priceless. It is a plus-size billionaire marriage of convenience Omegaverse. So the character's name is Ocean. It is I will be fully upfront in the fact that if you live in a plus-size body, it will be a difficult book to read for you, because I have lived in a plus-size body my entire life, and I was very real to my experience of living in a larger body, and that is not everybody's experience. Very clear from the reviews, it's not everybody's experience, but it is a lot of people's experience, and I didn't really shy away from it. So it's not necessarily the easiest book to read, but it is one of my favorites. Next, other than the things I can't talk about, I'll be working on the second book in my Dragon series, which I know I left people on a very bad cliffhanger. And then also the third book in that Omegaverse series, which is about a girl named Trinity, and it's gonna be kinky as fuck. That's the one I went to the bratting classes for. Is like, yeah, she's nice. Wild.
That's awesome. I'm excited. I guess my turn. So my last book that just came out is Fingertips, and it is the 4th book in my Courageous Love series, and it's about Celine and Fox. And Celine is a hard worker. She's an executive assistant, and she's really she keeps her life very separate from her work friends, and she's very kind of closed off, and there's reasons why to that. But her friend is like, listen, you work too much, we're going to take you out and get you laid, and just kind of knock the dust off.
Good friends.
Right, good friends. And so they head off to New York, and she meets a tattoo guy in a bar. She takes him back to his place, has a really great time with him. He drops her off at the airport, and she's like, okay, see you later. Minus her panties. And so she hops on the plane to go to work, and they're getting ready for this new client. Their office is expanding. And so she's at the offsite location, and in walks the client, which is the guy she was just with. Neither knew, of course.
I love it.
Catnip, right there, catnip.
Exactly. And so Celine, they always say Celine doesn't lose it at work. She completely loses it, swears, which she doesn't do. And that kind of starts off this wild but fun kind of relationship where she's like, okay, well, you know, my life is changing. Maybe it's time to kind of open up. But Celine has a dark past, and that past, of course, shows up in the form of a lot of interfamily drama. Celine grew up in Appalachia, Ohio, so she's a Black Appalachian woman. And we kind of see that community and just how badass a Black woman with a bow and arrow can be. So it's, of course, lots of spice and hijinks. And she's the rescuer. So, and that's kind of like the theme from my series is like the women, they're, you know, with these badass, gorgeous, everybody's over 6 foot men, but they can take care of themselves. So that's the last book. And then I'm working on next is Breathless, which is going to be the last book in the series. Thank God. I've had fun with them. I'm ready to let them go. I'm ready to let them go.
Okay.
So, and Breathless, we see Logan and Juliet. Juliet just lost her husband, and Logan is an old friend from college who's kind of like has to give her that news. And so their relationship kind of starts off in a weird spot. And so we find her working her way through. She writes under a pen name. And since we were talking about parasocial relationships, there's a stalker involved. Yay! Yay! So this is an author with a situationship, a parasocial situation. She has to figure herself out.
That's never actually happened to me before.
I'm just pulling out the thin air.
Never.
So lots of excitement. I'm in the middle of it, and I think it's going well. I lied. I forgot.
What'd you lie about?
No, I wrote another book. I forgot a whole ass book.
When's it coming out?
No, it just came out.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
it's not Chaser.
Yeah, right. No, so Fingertips
is it the cowboy book?
It's the cowboy book. I forgot about my man chest cover. It's my first man chest cover. Reuniting with the Rancher. So, real quick, Reunited with the Rancher is a shared world standalone. So 8 books in the series. Mine's is book number 4. She's a pop princess. He is a former military guy who owns a ranch. Second chance romance, and it's secret baby, but she doesn't know about the baby. Ta-da!
Excuse me.
Turning things on its head. So, yes, that one. I can't believe I forgot a whole book.
That's hysterical.
In fairness, I forget about my shared world books a good amount of the time too. Like
these are, and if all of these listeners are like, oh my gosh, what? No, they'll be in the show notes. Don't worry.
Don't freak out.
All of it's going to be in the. Don't freak. I will guide you on this journey. Okay, so that's where they can read things from you. Where if they want to follow you on social media and create a parasocial relationship with you.
Yes.
Where can they find you?
Well, I'm everywhere at Terreece, Terreece. So I'm not on whatever they're calling it now. It used to be the Bird platform. I'm not on that.
Blue Sky.
But
it's the only thing I dead name.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll dead name.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Exactly. So everywhere, I'm usually on TikTok and Instagram. Well, I guess and Threads now. Whatever, find me. I'm out there. And
we'll put TikTok, Instagram, Threads. Are you on Blue Sky yet? On Discord? On Snapchat? I don't know.
I'm not. I cannot do Snapchat. My brain will not allow it. I am on Blue Sky, and I've got a Facebook group if you want to come and hang out and like post smutty memes. I do that all day. So yeah, I spend too much time online. I should be writing more.
Okay.
I have pretty much everywhere too. If you want places to interact with me the most, my Facebook group would be the place, or Instagram. I still have TikTok, but I need to get back into posting it a little bit. And I am on Threads a good amount now. I signed up for Blue Sky just so I have one, but I am not like there yet, if that makes sense. Like I haven't like gone. I also joined Lemonade because I wanted to make sure I had my handle.
Yes, so real.
Yeah.
Well, and Lemonade is merging with TikTok, so.
Oh, good. So I don't have to jump on that. Yay.
I mean, it will all be banned in a couple months.
Facebook group, Instagram, Threads. Those are my big places.
Amazing. Okay, I asked people where they could find you before I asked you my final question. So we're going to flip this, and I love it. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask each, the royal we is going to do. Oh my gosh. I'm going to ask each question, and both y'all are going to answer, and you're going to flip flop on who answers first. So Terreece answered first for where they can find you. So Devyn's going to answer first. Question number 1, what is your favorite romance novel?
I don't have
Just
one. Exactly.
I mean,
I don't have one.
No, if there's like a god tier
relationship with my books.
That was not written by me, correct?
Yes, not written by you.
I have a few that I go back to, but the one I end up recommending the most, just because like it's such a good feel good thing, is The Mogul and the Muscle by Claire Kingsley, and it's in a shared world of 4 female billionaires, so it is a trope reversal, and they're best friends and they live in a commune together, and like she's being stalked, and so her friends hire her a bodyguard and say, yes, you are having a bodyguard, and he happens to be like a 6'4" ex-CIA grumpy bastard who then
how terrible.
So Mogul and Muscle by Claire Kingsley.
And you don't have like a god tier, maybe top 3 that you return to over and over?
I do. So Aaron's Patience by Tiffany Patterson, and her the second one in that series, which is Carter. Oh my God, that man. Woo! And The Sutton Brothers by Evelyn Sola, and then of course Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. And I know I'm missing somebody else. Who's doing okay. My thing? But yeah, those are the ones that I will go back. Oh, Theodora Taylor has a whole Russian series where there's secret babies galore, and if you haven't figured it out yet, I love a secret baby. So yeah, all of those. Okay, that's all. I told you I'm in a white shoes relationship with these books.
That's him, bro.
There's no way. It's never actually a one book answer. And if I asked myself the same question, I would not give you a one book answer. I don't expect one. But I like you to try. Okay, where/how do you prefer to read?
Everywhere. I'm gonna be honest. I read since I was a kid. I read everything, everywhere, all the time. So I've got a Kindle. I've got the Kindle app on my phone, on my iPad. I read actual books. I might have 2 on me on the hip, in bed, on the couch, literally as long as I can sit down and read, and that's a good enough spot. So, yeah.
Awesome. Amazing.
I I'm the same. I read pretty much everything because like I do flip between paperbacks and stuff, but I really do enjoy reading on my phone, but that's terrible for my eyes. So I got this thing. I think it's pronounced books, honestly. It's Boox, and it's literally a Android phone that is
yes,
completely. If you want to see in the camera, so like
yeah,
and I really really enjoy. I basically use it as a mini Kindle because I'm a Mac person, so like I'm an Apple all the way. So I don't use it for anything else except for being a mini Kindle. But because it's a phone, you can put the Kobo app on there, and you can put any reading app you want on there. So it's been nice, and it's like and it has the shape and size of the phone. So you're just like doing it. That's my current love. Yeah.
Okay. All right then.
It's cool.
I've seen it before. I just wonder. I feel like I would lose it. I hear it's a terrible phone, but a great thing to read on.
Oh, it's a terrible phone. It's a terrible phone. You could not use this phone functionally because of the refresh rate of the e-ink. You couldn't use it.
But I hear it's great to read on.
For a Kindle, it's great.
Okay. So at Jace Reads Romance, we have this concept called comfy sexy, and it's built out of the belief that in your comfiest space, your grossest sweatpants, wherever you are safe, you can also be your sexiest and explore your sexuality by reading a romance novel. If knowing that, what does a comfy sexy situationship, what does that evoke for you?
Like, explain
in what way? Yeah, in what way?
Like, for me, I think comfy sexy is like, I feel super comfy sexy when I am in like athleisure. It's literally what I'm wearing right now. I've got like athleisure on and my like big ass sweater and a bra that does nothing for my boobs because I don't need the support. So sorry, but like this sports bra does not actually support for sports. And or it could be like, I love it when I'm in like answers we've gotten are like, I love it when I'm in like my bed with snacks. Like I'm comfy, I've got snacks and I'm reading my book, or I've got like my bra and panties match. That's when I know I'm comfy sexy because like the curtains match the drapes, but for clothes. Did I break you? I just said these like head fall.
That was awesome.
I'm a huge fan of thigh-high socks, especially the ones that are really comfy. So like I wear those often because I live in Montana. My house often gets very cold. I'm also a huge fan of arm warmers. So for me, it's just like athleisure, like sleep pajamas or whatever. And then I'll have like my socks on. And then I have like my best friend just sent me like a heated Snuggie.
Ooh.
And it's like it's so good because you can just like be in it and like just like be warm and then like just be downstairs in front of my fireplace.
Well, if she wasn't the best friend before, that pushed her up there because that sounds dope.
It's great. It's really good.
Oh my gosh.
So mine's is, it's not weird. I'm weird and that's okay. So freak flag. Mine's is a pair of pajamas that we got for a holiday photo for Christmas for the whole family. Red and white striped candy cane pajamas. But so that was wholesome. And now I've worn them a million times. And so they're much more snug. And, you know, unbutton a couple of buttons. I feel like a sexy Whoville person. So,
I
love it.
Like the Candy Cane girls, you remember them from the movie? Yeah, that's what I feel like when I'm in them. So I'm comfortable. I even have like the matching shoes with the little bells on them. And it could be July and I'm walking around in that. And that's usually when I'm writing my naughty scenes too. So that's my comfy sexy, definitely.
That is 1,000% comfy sexy.
I think I wore it to Steamy Lit for the pajama party. I think I did.
Oh.
I was only there this year, which was not a pajama party.
Year, that's hilarious. So if anybody was there and they're connecting.
I have friends who were there. I'm like, do you have pictures of Terreece in her pajamas?
I found out a couple of years ago that the Grinch movie is over 20 years old, and oh my god,
are you serious?
It came out in 2000. came out in the year 2000.
Are you serious?
I am so serious. And like I was like, oh my god. Like, have you guys seen the movie Freaky Friday? She's like, I'm the Crypt Keeper. That's what I feel like.
Yeah. There are just moments in your life when you realize how much time has passed, and this is one of them.
Absolutely, because wow.
Oh God.
You're right, because I have a 20-year-old. We have watched that movie every freaking year that she's been here.
Oh my gosh. No.
The moment her brain explodes. Wow.
Oh God. I don't know if this is the right note to end it on, but this is the note we're ending it on.
Everyone, you're
thank you.
Did you? I saw in your outline a question about sexuality at the end, or is that not?
Oh my God! No, I'm not done. I'm not done. Am I? Shit! God damn it! You just distracted me too much.
Time.
And I was like, hey, you know what? I don't know. Okay, so question number 4 is supposed to be, when do you feel you're sexiest? And answers have been like, when my hair is in a slick back bun, or like when my winged eyeliner is even. It does not have to be like when I'm getting dick down. But it might be.
Man, listen.
I'm so far from sexy right now. Like, it's just like in terms of just like mindset, because it's like everything going on in the world and everything like that. This is not what's on my mind at the moment.
Yeah.
No, usually, but this is going to track with the previous part of the interview. I usually at kink parties is where I feel the sexiest.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a good question. I don't know. Cinched up in that corset was pretty nice. Making random men in elevators tie my shoe, awesome. I think it's situational. Yeah, probably, because I think I'm a chicken transition. Because I've moved into this space and I can now be like fully Terreece in all of her inappropriate glory. And it takes me like, I think probably the conferences, right? Because in the books, the romance specific book signings, not the multi-genre ones, because everybody from their grandpa down to the little kids are there. But because I get to de-troll, you know what I'm saying? I come out of those like rubbish pants and I, put my face on, I comb my hair. And like I said, I can be completely inappropriate with a bunch of people who get me. And not just my husband going, good one. So it's like a wider group of folks full of innuendo nonsense. I think that's sexy. I think just anytime I'm having fun is when I'm, you know what I'm saying? I lose any of that self-conscious, what am I wearing? What am I looking like? Is my boob getting ready to fall out? It's always a question.
Also, I need you to know that at first I did not hear chick in transition. I heard chicken transition. And it took me a second. I was like, what? Oh.
Like that's
I got you. I was fine. I got that.
Yeah, the problem is me. The problem is always me.
I'm a chicken transition. Crispy baked.
Oh my goodness. So we didn't talk a ton about sex, which is funny because I met y'all at Smut Lovers,
right?
But we're part of an industry. You're part of an industry. I just consume. But you're part of an industry that talks openly about sex and sexuality, and especially female-centric, like sex and sexy things for women by women. So what is the one thing that you want women to know about sex and sexuality? You might call it your soapbox thing.
I do have one, actually.
Yeah.
Go first.
Which is especially about romance is my big one, which is because like you said, it's a space that's curated for women by women. And this especially relates to like dark romance. Romance is the only safe place in the world where to have unhealthy fantasies.
Yeah.
And like we can acknowledge that fantasies are fantasy. Some of them are not great. That doesn't make them wrong. As long as you're not, you know what I mean? Like there's a reason we read the fiction we do. It's healing, it's arousing, it's stimulating, whatever, you know what I mean? But like, so when there's a huge amount of online conversation about dark romance and like the divide between reality and fiction. And that's one of my big things. I will ride or die next to dark romance because like people need that. People need a place to live out their deepest, darkest, raunchiest fantasies in a way that is safe and healthy to explore, but not to bring out into the world.
Yeah.
Mine's would be your sexuality is your own. And it is your God-given right to embrace it and pursue it in the manner in which makes you feel good. And it is not, you don't owe anyone, or you're not beholden to anyone's permission, not your religion, not your spouse / partners, not your parents, not anyone else's ideas. I come from a community or a time in our community. Thank God for Meg Thee Stallion and the rest of them girls because because I tell you what, I'm like, these young girls have got it for real. But I come from a time where you were beholden to either be the good girl or lose like community protection. And so if anything untoward should happen to you, it was because you were quote unquote fast or essentially asking for it, no matter your age. And so that put a lot of us in a position to where you spend 18 to 20, 30 years denying, downplaying, and demonizing perfectly normal, healthy feelings and wants and needs, and then entering into a relationship in which now you're supposed to just, flip a switch and be a freak of someone else's fantasies. And you don't even know, really, truly what it is that you want and like. And now you're supposed to tap dance for someone else. So, and with that comes getting rid of a lot of shame and ideas and expectations, not just for yourself, but of other people and what they're doing, because you haven't resolved what it is that you want, like, and need within yourself. So your sexuality is yours. It does not belong to anyone else. And I say, as long as you are taking care of you, pursue that shit to the highest level that you can. And
yes.
And it's supposed to, everything that you read in the books, like, is not necessarily going to go great in real life. Some things, while we try to stay really true to things, is still very kind of sanitized. Sex is messy and smelly and funny and at times weird, and shit like goes wrong, and that's okay because you're figuring it the fuck out. Wash it off and try again.
Sometimes literally.
Sometimes literally. Wash the shit.
Literally.
Merch. Terreece, merch. Wash it off and try again. Merch.
I'm going to get my pen. Here we go.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
I am coming out with t-shirts, so
we're gonna do tote bags next year. Probably like tote bags and bookmarks.
Yes.
It's gonna say yes. I have pre-ordered that.
Long enough, tote bags will be thrown back at you.
I fucking love them. I have a pile of tote bags from this past year, and
I have so many. Oh my god,
I love them,
and I never use them.
I love a tote bag. I go back to like the same 3.
Yeah,
because I have like my favorites.
Yeah,
or like I go to the last chapter here, which is a romance only bookstore, and I have a tote bag from them. Well, I'm not going to bring someone else's tote bag into the last chapter. That is so. What do you think I am?
D-class-A.
It's like it's going back checking. Like maybe I am demure and mindful. No, that was one of my favorite moments. One of my favorite moments of Smut Lovers was Princess Robera walking into the dungeon in her like backless dress that's like just below her ass and her giant ass boots, and she goes, "Did you see how I got out of the car without flashing my fanny, like flashing my cooch everywhere? Very demure, very mindful." And I am like on the floor, like holding her bag of impact toys, and like this.
I am so sad that I'm going to miss it this year. I have to admit, I really do. It was so much fun. It was so much fun.
You still got time. Maybe we'll work it out.
You still got time to figure it out.
It's probably going to be sold out. So we'll see. We'll see.
I know. I bought my ticket pretty late this year. I bought my ticket to Smut Lovers pretty like far into the winter of 2024. Okay. So I believe in you. I believe.
If not,
I'm gonna manifest it.
If we're all still here, there'll be
I'm
fighting the existential dread one soda at a time.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Oh jeez. On that happy note, I still can't believe, like, I remember I've been talking about doing this since September, and I was like, Steffi, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna reach out to them. It's gonna happen. It's gonna do it. And then we started talking about making this recording happen. Then, the world.
Yes.
But I'm so glad. I feel like this was exactly what I needed on this gross ass, like, snowy. It is now 82 degrees in my office.
I am freezing. So I had to turn my heater on.
I have like athletic shorts, a bra, and my lightest sweater. But just for y'all. And thank you for joining me. Thank you for this. There was, I don't know why I said this at one point, but I was like, I only put on a bra for y'all. Like, there's no reason. There's like nothing bounces, nothing moves.
I live in bralettes.
Everything would be in the same place.
Underwire has no place on my body.
Oh god, underwire has no place in this house.
They're in my lap, so yeah. Like,
oh.
I need to be sedated.
Oh my god.
See, this is inappropriate, but you guys get me.
It's so it's so perfect. After we're gonna pause and we're like, what conferences are you at next year? Am I gonna see you at all? Anyway, this is the end. Thank you so much for joining me. All of this will be in the show notes for the 2 episodes that we ended up recording. We love you, Michael. We love you, Steffi. And I have so much gratitude for these 2. Thank you, Devyn. Thank you, Terreece.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Bye.
That's it for today, y'all. This has been a 3 Paws Productions podcast. Our producer is Steffi. Michael Achenbach is our patient editor. Our theme song is written and performed by Diana Weishauer. You can find show notes and so much more at jacereadsromance.com. That's JAYCE Reads Romance. Follow along on TikTok and Instagram at Jace Reads Romance. If you'd like to ask a question or share a story for the podcast, call and leave a message at 661-JACE-RR. That's 661-529-2377. Or send an email to jace@jacereadsromance.com. Finally, like and subscribe so you can get every episode when they drop. You can also leave us a review to help others find us. And remember, this is Jace holding space for you.